first. Let's see how long it takes. Shouldn't take that long. Nope, there I am. So it only took like 5 seconds. So yeah, I'm gonna hang up on you and then bring you on. Okay, we are getting set to go live here. We are live, but we're getting set. Lever Sage and Tanner Ryle, as another day in Senators land, has them taking on the Florida Panthers tonight at 7:00, and not a minute goes by that the Ottawa Senators aren't in the news for one reason or another. So let's bring on our Sens insider, Tanner Ryle. Tanner, always good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Lee. Excited for the game tonight. You know, feeling good back here on OSN. We're trying our remote setup out before the post game, getting some reps in, and there's some interesting tidbits from practice to go over.
Yeah, you sound further away, Tanner, than I'm used to, but you were right here the other day.
I was, yeah, right there. Now I'm
Yeah.
in beautiful Barrhaven, Ontario, ready to go.
You know what? Only people that live in Barrhaven use that adjective before Barrhaven.
I'm also going to change our title here on YouTube because we still have our post-game title up.
Okay. You sound a little bit echoey, but I'm not sure if that's just your inferior setup to mine.
Gonna double check my microphone.
It might have just been you being off mic there for.
That could be it, yeah. What do we want to call this stream?
Just call it January 10th versus Florida.
Oh, did you lose me there for a second?
Did I lose you? I don't think so.
Okay, I was buffering on my end. We're still figuring this out for the good viewer, good listener.
I've been here all along, good listener, good viewer. Okay. Tanner's the one in the dark. I have good lighting behind me because the windows are open, but that changes as the night goes on. And post game, we're gonna I'll have to figure that out with a new ring light. However, we will figure it out. All right, so we've had some time to digest it was quite a night on Thursday night, because within the framework of about an hour and a half, the Ottawa Senators sent out a salacious statement that made its way around the hockey world very quickly, and then got shelled by the Colorado Avalanche by a score of 8-2. It was 8-1 in the middle of the second period. And also in the middle of the second period, give or take a few minutes, they signed James Reimer to a contract. And all of which on the ice, they're trying to get ready for not only the Florida Panthers, but to try and get themselves back on track. And as Tanner said, they've now completed the morning skate. And I would say some strong words used by the captain and some of the other members in that dressing room. We should probably start, Tanner, with what Brady Tkachuk and some of the others had to say after the morning skate this morning to get ready for Florida.
Yeah, I did get some pieces there of Brady's comments there. They were making the rounds on Twitter, of course, before the media even got posted by people there. Stutzla commented on it as well, but Brady Tkachuk essentially calling it bullshit was the word that he used. A little bit stronger. He used that word.
Well. He used that word multiple times, didn't he?
That he did. He called it fucking bullshit, saying it's not true. It's just a bullshit story. Further, he also addressed Allmark's absence directly, saying, honestly, I feel bad for Linus. Nobody knows what he's going through, but the fact that he has to even deal with this and even have to think about it, all we care about for him is getting what he needs. And we said from day one that he has our support. Now that he has to deal with this is fucking mind-blowing.
So the lead story right now on TSN is that exact quote.
Oh, it's all over. And then Tim Stutzla also made some comments just on the noise in the Sens, saying, quote, "What annoys me the most is the things that are out there are not true, and I love my teammates. Everybody stands up for each other in the room, especially with something like that. That's more important than hockey. It's family. If you go after someone's family, that's not acceptable for us." He also mentioned that he reached out to Allmark after he took his leave of absence, saying, quote, "I texted him right after when he left the team for something completely different, which we don't even have to get into. It's something mental health related. Everybody knows that out there. I texted him, just told him that we support him for whatever he's been going through."
So the team is rallying around each other right now,
Right.
which quite frankly, that's what they should be doing. There is no other response. I'm not surprised whatsoever. Thursday took me by surprise, from the statement to the way that they played. I know they were playing Colorado, a very good team, but they didn't even look like a competitive team. And it surprised me that they signed a goalie that's really not played at all this year.
Right.
Today, not surprising at all. They have had 36 hours, a little bit more, to try and regroup, to try and come out with a united front and how they were all going to handle this together. I would have been surprised, Tanner, if Brady Tkachuk didn't say what he said today and didn't use some of the language. They are presenting a united front right now, which I don't really know what other option they have to be able to stick together through a tough time. The captain's got to lead that, but it's coming from the top as well. My question to you is, before we kind of get into the lineup tonight and how they're going to handle things, my question is, what I'm, I guess, curious about this evening. I would have thought that this would have bonded the team beforehand. The team has looked like a mess since the Toronto game. They have looked like a mess. And to get it back on track, usually things that happen in the outside world bond, like, very cliche, but like, it's us against the world. Nobody believes in us. Look at all the noise outside. We only have each other here in this room, and it brings people together. I haven't seen that on the ice. Is that what, like, is that something that you think will happen tonight?
I mean,
Should
you
it
have to
happen?
hope so.
If we don't see it tonight, are you more worried about it than you were before?
I would say yes. I think you have to see it on the ice at this point. First of all, I mean, if the team doesn't make that statement, none of the media is even asking about this today.
Right.
But this has to be the thing that this team rallies around to carry them back into competition for a playoff spot, if that's going to happen this year. Now, I know we're going to get into the Panthers in a minute, but that's a very, very tough test after this. But you've got a point that if this is all just nothing, the team should have been rallying around it at this point. But maybe all this noise is what's going to take it for them to rally around each other, for the captain to take the lead and say, we're done with this, enough of the noise, we're going to get some wins here.
One of the things, and I try to take a step back, that seemed like a very emotional statement on Thursday night. I think where a lot of us fall down when we analyze this, no discredit to you, Tanner, as the Sens insider, you're a big deal. I've been around a long time. I'm not smarter than people running a National Hockey League team. I don't think you are. I don't think many are. And that's not a disrespect to you or anybody else. They know what they're doing. And quite frankly, without naming, names, we know the people that are in charge of, like, the new communications managers with the Ottawa Senators this year. That's what they're really good at. I'm surprised that a statement like this would have passed their desk, but it all came from above. I think that's clear. So I always take a step back and go, okay, this seems like an emotional statement, but they must be doing this for a reason. I'm just trying to figure out what the reason is because I know I'm not smarter than them. I know they've been in the corporate world. Michael Andlauer has owned 10% of the Montreal Canadiens for a long time. He now owns the majority of a National Hockey League team here in Ottawa. Steve Stejos has been around a very long time.
Even to further that, Steve Stejos, 1,000 games in the league. If I'm sure he's seen some things, been through some tough locker rooms throughout his career.
Of course.
Maybe he thought this is what it would take to light a fire under this team and have them rally together just as a player in the league for so long.
Well, there has to be reasons why. And we can only speculate as to what those reasons are. But it's fair for us to do that. I am giving them credit that they are much smarter people than me, and this is all done for a reason. So it's up to us to try to analyze what some of those possible reasons could be. And as you said, the number one thing that comes to mind is my team is playing like crap. They don't look like they're together. There could be like 0% truth to this. There could be 5% truth. There could be 95% truth or anywhere in between. If we go on the fact that there's like even just a shred of truth, but most of it is not real. But the fact is that if it's 5% true, the team's still playing like crap. What am I going to do? What are the owners going to do? What are the general managers going to do to turn this around? And is it like they're stake in the ground saying we're going to plant a flag, and if you don't rally around that flag, you're going to be gone? I can tell you that's what it seems like to me, Tanner. It seems like we are now planting a stake in the ground and saying you're either with us or you're not. And we're going to forget the outside noise, forget if people have done some bad things or maybe nobody's done anything bad. But it is spiraling out of control on the ice. I don't care. Like, I mean, we're going to talk about off of the ice, but I don't really care about that as opposed to how does it affect the on ice play? And that's what Sens fans care about. They care about their team is spiraling out of control because they look like a mess on the ice. Is this the general manager and the owner planting a flag and saying, we are going to stop this nonsense and we're going to stop it now? And that really is on the ice and off of the ice. So if there are some things going on, there's clearly a couple of things going on off the ice. I don't know what they are. And maybe they have nothing to do with what people are rumored to be talking about. But there is something that is bothering that team because they don't look anything like a real team. So is this the owner and the general manager saying, we're going to put a stop to this and we're going to plant a flag and say you're either with us or against us?
That has to be it. It really has to be. They're saying they're taking a lot of the blame for the drama away from the players, putting it onto the organization as a whole. But now it's on those players to go onto the ice and perform. It's on Brady Tkachuk to go out there and lead this team into battle tonight against a very tough Florida Panthers team. It's on the goaltenders to play better. And I know they've just brought in Reimer. He's not going to be in the lineup tonight, but it's on this team as a whole to start performing better, or the next move is players are going to start going out the door. And they've done a lot of insulating this young core with veterans and trying to help them take that next step. We've already seen them strike at the core once last year by trading Josh Norris for Dylan Cousins. You would have to think that if there is going to be a big move after this team spiraling out of control more, maybe we're seeing another one of those core players on their way out of Ottawa.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you that they've done a decent job at insulating some of the young players with the veterans up front. I would say they have failed on defense and goaltending when it comes to the management, because we've discussed this before. We're going to discuss it ad nauseum. Thomas Chabot and Artem Zub and whoever else you want to put in a top 4 position, Jake Sanderson is a really good defenseman. One of the great defensemen of the league. The next, like Thomas Chabot and Artem Zub, I would call them average defensemen in the league. They're decent. They're not spectacular. They're not horrible. You can put them out in different situations, and you have capable NHL defensemen. I don't know what they have after that. When I start going through the Jensens and the Matt and Palos and the Spences and the Clevins, it's like, I don't know that those guys are. I mean, I hope they are. I think Clevin, to me, is the best of the bunch when it comes to what he will be capable of in the future, but he's nowhere near that right now. I'm not faulting him. I am squarely placing the blame on, I don't think this is a very good defense score. And then when you mix in what I would call a below average defense score with the poorest goaltending that we have seen in a very long time, I don't know how you get better. Like, until they decide, the management decides to make it better. And maybe they're trying to figure out who's with them right now and who's against them. And then they'll figure out after that where they're going to add. But I just look at this defense score and say, and their goaltending and say, even if you want to be better, can you be better? Can you actually compete and have a chance to beat the Colorado Avalanche? Can you beat the Florida Panthers tonight? They still have Carolina twice coming up in the next month. They have Colorado again. They have Vegas. They have some back-to-backs. We mentioned it the other day, but I mean, Detroit and Montreal are licking their chops to get a hold of this team. The way that Ottawa Senator fans, Tanner, look at the schedule and go, oh, thank God we got Columbus and the Devils coming up. That's the same way the other fan bases are looking at Ottawa. Thank God we got the Senators coming up. And that's not a great position to be in. So it does look like Levi Merrilainen is going to start tonight. I don't think they have any other options. Matt Sogard sent back, correct?
Yeah, we just had a moment actually after the morning skate. So a small transaction. Hunter Shepard has been recalled. Matt Sogard as well as Stephen Halliday, both making their way down to Belleville. Belleville does have a game tonight as well as tomorrow. So I wonder if they're trying to get Sogard back into game action tonight, tomorrow. Maybe we see James Reimer get the other game. And then perhaps he's on his way up here as well as soon as the game against the Vancouver Canucks on Tuesday.
That makes sense to me, what you're saying. If I'm the Sens organization, I need Matt Sogard back in the net.
Right.
Because if you're going to have anybody come up, like, you don't know what James Reimer is going to be. You can hope he's a great vet, comes in, plays well, kind of solidifies the backup role, gives Levi Merrilainen some tutelage and some time off, and is able to play games. That is the hope. But if that doesn't work out for whatever reason, Reimer's not very good, he hasn't played, he gets hurt because he hasn't played, whatever. The next answer's got to be Matt Sogard. And I know he looked terrible the other night, but he has more capability still, more experience, and the potential to me to at least come up and help out more than Hunter Shepard does. So if
certainly more than Shepard, but I think you have to hope that it doesn't come to Sogard, because that performance the other night was not very good. He has not had a good year in the AHL. I wonder about his future with the organization. I think certainly when Merrilainen surpassed him on the depth chart, the question started coming up, but in an ideal world, they're probably not calling Sogard up, and potentially, I don't know if he's going to play another game as an Ottawa Senator, and I don't want to go that far, but
but I think
you have to start to wonder.
If you look at it just from the individual's perspective, he's still a member of the organization. We still have to put him in the best position possible to try to succeed, to get some of his game back. And the way that I would do that is put him right back in at the AHL level and go, Mads, right now, Levi is going to be up. Hunter Shepard, we're going to call him up. James Reimer is going to come in, but he'll be up with the team. It'll probably be you and Hunter, but it's your job. Let's go. Like, take the Belleville Senators and at least make that your number one priority, because that's all the team can do to put him in a position to succeed. Individually, that's what you have to do. This feels to me a lot like the Columbus game on the 29th. Whatever day it was after the Leaf game, that they lost 7-5, kind of a blowout loss. And to be able to come home against a Columbus team that didn't get in till whatever time, everyone thought the Ottawa Senators were going to wipe the mat with the Blue Jackets. And that's the night they came out and looked really poor. And you're like, what is going on with this team? Doesn't tonight against Florida kind of feel like that again after everything that's happened?
It does, but I think you look at the Florida Panthers just inherently a little bit different than you would at the Columbus Blue Jackets in that game, where we just got obliterated by Colorado. Not a great game against Utah. Not a great game before against Detroit.
Sorry, Tanner, you have to hold on 1 second. Maybe you can just keep going. I'll be right back. Hold the fort.
You got it, boss. For sure. So Mr. Versage getting some firewood delivered here. He told me that before we got on here. Ben Suglier, AEW super fan in the chat here. Give me one of Hogberg, Hellberg, or Nilsson. I mean, they had to bring somebody in, and Reimer just happened to be the one that's available. I think if they didn't make that move, sure, one of Hogberg, Hellberg, Nilsson could have been that guy, but they've planted their stake here. They're going to take a shot with the 37-year-old and see where it goes from here. As I mentioned, I don't know if the Belleville Sens have posted anything about who they're planning to start tonight, but it wouldn't shock me if they're able to get Reimer, that maybe he plays in this game, or with Sogard, maybe it was a conversation even at the morning skate today where maybe one of Green or Peters pulled him aside and said, hey, you're already here. You might as well practice with us, but you're going down to Belleville and be ready, be in game shape, because you're probably going to play tonight. Now, I do believe the Belleville Sens actually had a really nice win last night over the Marlies. I think it was something like 8-4. Pulling that up right now to take a look. I'm not sure who got that game. I would assume either Hunter Shepard or Jackson Parsons. Yeah, I'm seeing an 8-4 win last night over the Toronto Marlies. So that may give some indication as to who they're gonna start. It's a 3-3 down in Belleville, so they probably do need Sogard down there at least to start a game.
It's been way better with you just talking. I'm sure you gave great insight as opposed to me being here.
For sure.
I'm back.
Our AEW super fan Ben was in here, given the suggestion of one of Hogberg, Hellberg, or Nilsson. I was saying they've probably planted their stake with Reimer, and I imagine he's going to start one of the games, because Belleville's actually playing a 3-3 right now. They got an 8-4 win last night over the Toronto Marlies. So I imagine Sogard was told at practice today, hey man, you can practice up. You're here with the big club. You might as well get your practice in, but we're going to send you back down after the skate. You're going to get the start tonight in Belleville, or if not tomorrow, say they go Reimer tonight. But I imagine Sogard and Reimer get these two games for Belleville, and then we reevaluate for Ottawa for the Vancouver game, whether it's calling one of those guys up and sending Shepard back down.
What are your expectations for when we're sitting here on the post-game show later tonight? What would be acceptable for you? I know you're going to the game. You're going to hop on. I'm going to start yelling after the game regardless. But what do you expect when it comes to how you're going to feel and what you think is acceptable tonight when you get home and jump on?
Acceptable just to see more of a team effort and a commitment. Florida's a very hard team. A win is what they really, really need. But I'd like to see Marilainen look more confident. I'd like to see more engagement, especially out of the leaders, especially after such strong statements in the media from Kachuk, from Stützle, really planting their flag down. Ethan coming in here, they need a regulation win, full stop, nothing less. I agree wholeheartedly. They absolutely need a win here. Florida is it's a tougher ask against that team, but Florida is banged up. I know we've talked about trap games a lot as a fan base, and for Florida, this might be an example of a trap game. Maybe they're going to underestimate us a little bit. I know we're going to get into the Sens lines and the Panthers lines in just a minute here, but exactly that. They need a win. They need a win really, really badly if they are going to stay in it. They've dropped 3 in a row this week already. We knew it was going to be tight, but the playoff race is getting tighter and tighter. And if they don't start picking up points, these teams are going to start to pull away from them. And Ottawa's going to slip to last place in the Eastern Conference, which for a year where you don't have your first round pick is unacceptable. With this core, it is unacceptable. They have to be better and they have to stay in the race. We mentioned it a lot the other day, but playing those, I believe it's 16 games in 31 days leading up to the Olympics, that's a tough ask for the team, and they have to show up a lot more than they have so far. So yeah, in an ideal world, they really need the win tonight. I'm more so looking for the engagement level. Can Merrilainen rebound? We know it was a really tough night for him the other night. Can he look a little bit better? Make some 10-bell saves, hopefully. And can we see more of a cohesive team effort in engagement level? I'm looking at the captain a lot tonight. Brady Tkachuk needs to be the guy that's going to lead this team in. And we saw Stützle. He's been stepping up a lot lately, but Stützle can't do it on his own. You know, he dropped the gloves the other night. That's great. Brady can't fight right now. That's not what we're looking for. I'm looking for the emotional level from the captain. I don't know how you have any confidence going for Levy after how he got hung out in Colorado. I don't personally have a ton of confidence, but he did look pretty good in the third period, and he's kind of the best option you've got right now. Sogard looked really bad, frankly, in that second period, and I don't imagine his confidence is anywhere better than Levy's right now. He hasn't even been good in the AHL, so you have to hope Sogard can go back down to Belleville, probably plays tonight, gets his confidence back. I don't know who started last night for Belleville, but I'm assuming it was Shepherd, so he's not really an option. He's played last night. So Levy has to be your guy. And you would have to hope, I guess, by Tuesday against Vancouver, they've got a back-to-back on Tuesday, Wednesday. You got to hope that they've figured out the Reimer situation. I imagine he's playing either tonight or tomorrow. I know we talked about Mads getting in, but you know, get a game rep for Reimer, see how he looks, and assuming he looks all right, I would guess he's probably going to start Tuesday against Vancouver, and then on Wednesday they've got the Rangers on the road. Actually, 2 back-to-backs next week. So if anything, they really need to figure out 2 guys that they can count on. You know, Levy played a back-to-back this week, or at least some of a back-to-back. They got Mads in partway through, but 2 back-to-backs next week. You've got to have 2 guys that you can count on to play in goal. And frankly, Levy, I'm sure he's not confident right now, but they got to play him. He's got to figure it out. It'll definitely be interesting to see the deployments that each of those guys get. And when Reimer is called up, if they figure this contract out sooner rather than later, how he looks in Belleville. I'll certainly be keeping an eye on the Belleville Sens game following tonight. Maybe we'll take a look at the post-game show. But appreciate the questions here, Ethan and Ben. Thanks for starting our chat up a little bit. It's great here getting this thing going. And I can't wait to hop on the post-game tonight. Hopefully it's a bit of a more positive show than it was against Colorado on Wednesday when Lee and I were sitting there in person. But we should have post-game shows up every single week, every single night this week for Vancouver, for New York, for Montreal, for Detroit. And yeah, I'm very excited. Waiting on Mr. Versage to get back before we dig into the Florida Panthers lines, but I can tell you they are a pretty banged up team, so it'll be interesting to see who they deploy. I believe they just got off the ice recently at the Canadian Tire Center. So we'll get into that momentarily. There he is.
Yeah, sorry about that. Nothing like people telling you they're coming in an hour and then they come in 22 minutes. I wish I had a camera. I wish I could turn the camera around and show you that I just got 3 cords of wood. For those who don't know what a cord is, it's kind of a 4x8 by 4. So there are too many pieces. Like Tanner, basically finish this up. Come and help me stock some wood this afternoon. Okay.
Oh, I got that thing I gotta do.
Yeah, no, for sure you do. Like you're a busy guy, I know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I got a lot of wood to stack all of a sudden now in my front yard. And I had to pay them. So that's why I was not here, Tanner. But I'm back and I'm looking forward again to, like, I heard you start answering the question I asked you. Here's what I would say. I didn't hear all of your answer, so if this repeats a little bit, I actually don't care if they win today. But what I didn't see in that Columbus game, we better see tonight. Like, we better see, like, when you watch the Ottawa Senators tonight, you better see them with a sense of urgency that would be akin to if you were playing the last game of the regular season and you needed a point to get to the playoffs.
And
whether you got the point or not, there is an urgency in that you almost can't replicate. We better see that out of every guy on that ice tonight. And I told you in the post game last time that if I'm on that plane coming home from Colorado and thinking about it since what is going on with the team, whether I'm involved in things off the ice, whether I'm not, I don't care. What can I do in the next game to make sure that I'm leading by example and to give my teammates, when they look at me, they're like, we are getting every single thing out of me tonight. Everything. And if everyone has that mindset going into tonight, it will show on the ice. And that is what I am concerned to see. If we don't see that tonight, I'm telling you, the season's over. They could lose 4-1 tonight. That I'm not saying a loss is the end of the season. If we don't see that sort of urgency tonight, the season's over. Because you're just not going to see it at any other point if you don't see it tonight. And
I agree wholeheartedly. And my eyes are going to be on Brady Tkachuk quite firmly tonight. And what level of engagement we see out of him. I know Susla had some pretty strong words there, but I mean, he just dropped the gloves the other night. He's been leading this team full charge. So my eyes will be on Brady a lot to see what his level of engagement is.
They need a regulation win, full stop, nothing less. I don't agree. I would like a win, Ethan, but they need to feel in that dressing room like they are not out of it and together at the end of the game.
We need to see a sign of life and proof that statement and what they said today wasn't just, let's cover this up and get the media to stop talking about this. We need to see that this is a cohesive team that has a chance of pulling some wins off going down the stretch.
But what the irony there of what you just said, and I don't disagree with you, but the irony is, you said it perfectly earlier. If they didn't release the statement, nobody would be talking about it. We got to get the media to stop talking about it. The media is only talking about it because you brought it up in a salacious statement. Nobody else. This isn't like we got to get the media to stop talking about it. Of course, you imagine sending around a statement like that less than 48 hours ago, and the media, if the media wasn't talking about it, you are not relevant. Full stop. So the media is talking about it because they want us to talk about it. Make that perfectly clear. That's the irony of it. It's like, is this going to bring the room together? I don't know how you get any confidence going for Levi after he got hung out to dry in Colorado. Well, yeah, I mean,
I addressed that a bit while you were gone.
I'm sure.
Like, what choice do they have? He has to play.
Who is their best goalie to play tonight? It's Levi Marilainen. No matter what you think of him, there is not a better option. So there's no choice. And did they hang him out to dry? Maybe a little bit, but he's also got to stop the puck. So you remember the Cale Makar goal? Yeah, so do I. He saw it the entire way. Nobody in front. Makar's on the side. He's got to stop it. That's not hanging a goalie out to dry. He needs to stop the puck. Ben's in with nobody wants to see Lee's Wood. See, again, the irony there of the suggestive nature of Benjamin says that, you know what I would say back? How about this for suggestive on a live stream, Ben? When Ben needed some wood, Tanner, who was there for him? I was. He got a whole quart of wood for me. Didn't you, Ben? That's right.
Good guy, Mr. Versage, looking right down the camera when he says it.
Yeah. Well, hey, I need some wood for my fire. I need some wood for all kinds of things around the house. No problem, Ben. Got you covered. I'm really only going to turn the camera around to show you when you come to borrow some more that it's here for you. Like a good friend that I am. Tanner, I love being live when Ben's trying to be suggestive on the chat. I'm not letting him away with that. Who else? So you're going to go to the game tonight and your eyes are going to be on Brady. Man, if Brady and Tim don't, I mean, I'm not even worried about Tim. I'm kind of not worried about Brady because now he's the one using that suggestive language. I'm not worried that he's going to go out and, be 12 hits deep, 8 shots on goal. He'll have that type of game. You know who I want to see it from? I want to see it from Thomas Chabot. Like another leader on the team. We don't really talk about Chabot when it comes to like Kachuk and Stützle who are leading the team up front. I would like to see a Dylan Cousins step up and be the best player on the ice. He's got the capability, like he's a top end forward. So who else do you want to see it from? I don't expect it from the back end, from the Jensens, the Matt and Palos, that kind of thing. Because right now they need to just be worried about doing their job properly and not getting out of line. But as far as that elevation, that next level, I'd like to see it out of Ridley Gregg. I'd like to see Ridley Gregg be running around and dominating tonight. I'm going to be looking for what I would call the second tier of Ottawa Senator, kind of below Brady, below Tim, below Jake, because those are the best players on the team. So for me, I'm looking at that next level of who's 4, 5, 6, and 7 on the Senators. And you can decide for yourself. It might be different on your list, Tanner, than mine, or Ben's or Ethan's or whoever's in listening right now. It might be different. But whoever kind of 4, 5, 6, and 7 are on your list, do we see it out of those players?
I think the depth could be very important in this game because it is a very banged up Florida Panthers lineup. So if a Shane Pinto or Ridley Gregg, a Dylan Cousins are maybe facing some lesser talent, it's a good opportunity for them to really show out and show that they're a big part of this team. And with that, should we get into some lines here for both teams?
We shall. I was just getting to the playoff odds that have, you remember when we were talking about it the other day?
I do.
The Ottawa Senators have fallen all the way down on Money Puck to 17.6%.
Well, when we started the other night, it was in the 40 range.
It was in the 40s. Yeah. It was somewhere hovering around 42, went down to 36 like right after the game. And then with some of the other results that trickled in and all of the different permutations, they are down to 17.6% on Money Puck. Just so that we know exactly where we are right now with the Ottawa Senators. Yes, let's get into some of the lines.
Starting with the Sens, I suppose. We do have quite a bit of change. We've got another forward shakeup, which we saw, I think, in about every single game last week. Seems like they're going more towards a lineup that we saw earlier in the season. So up front, we've got Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, and Fabian Zetterlund as your top line. Second line of David Perron, Dylan Cousins, Drake Batherson. We know that's a line Green's gone back to a lot since the end of last year after the trade deadline. The third line, they've reunited Michael Amadio, Shane Pinto, Claude Giroux, which is
Makes sense.
analytics-wise been one of the best lines in the NHL this year. Fourth line is Lars Eller, actually on the wing. At center, we've got Ridley Gregg, and then Nick Cousins on the right. Stephen Halliday sent back to the minors. McDermott is scratched. So that's your forward lineup. On defense, it is, again, a bit of a shakeup here. So Matt and Pello is out, and Jensen's back in. They've got Sanderson, Zub, Shabbat with Jensen, and then Clevin Spence as your third pair. Levi Merrilainen expected to get the start in net with Hunter Shepard backing him up after that recent transaction.
I'm not surprised. It seems like a veteran lineup with Jensen back in, reuniting that third line that's been pretty good all year long. It feels like this is a go-to lineup. Like if I were putting together the lines, feels like I'd be comfortable with putting that out from what I have. Any surprises for you?
I think the only surprise would maybe be sending Greg down to the fourth line, but it looks like they're really trying to rely on that center depth. Like, I don't think David Perron has looked particularly impressive as of late, whereas Greg has been scoring quite a bit. So that one surprises me a bit. Maybe they could have kept Perron with Eller and Cousins. But I do like it in the sense of you're using your center depth, which is one of this team's biggest strengths that maybe the Panthers don't have right now, especially with their number one center out. Because there's not an easy matchup when you look down the middle at Stützle, Cousins, Pinto, Gregg.
Right. Which is what Senator fans have wanted to see, right? For a long time, is just those four down the middle going up against other teams should give you an advantage. And quite frankly, Ridley Gregg hasn't done much for me to show that he should be elevated in a lineup anyway.
He started slow, but he's been scoring a lot lately. Now, I know that doesn't say a whole lot when the team's losing and not looking great, but he's a guy that
I know,
I've seen more out of than others.
Scoring's not everything, though. Like, I don't disagree that he's come on. I don't know whether there was a lingering injury. People are kind of saying that now, and I'm not sure if that's true. We're never going to know, or that it's just bad play and people are giving him the benefit of the doubt that he wasn't 100%. But nobody
did miss a bit of time.
Yeah, nobody's 100% right now, though. So, like, if you're a pro player and you're in the lineup, if you talk to players now, nobody wants to hear about it. Like, if you're good enough to go, there's not an excuse that you're hurt. And if you're not good enough to go, do the right thing and get out of the lineup. Like, so you don't get hero points in this game. In fact, if you're hurt and you're trying to play and you're not nearly as good as you could be, I am not giving you the benefit of the doubt that if there's somebody behind you that could be better than you, you don't get a hero point for me for being in the lineup anyway and not being as good. So like, players kind of look at it that way. Like, if I'm good to go, then I need to do everything I can. There aren't excuses why I can be bad. But I like the lineup tonight. To me, it's as good as you're going to get right now.
It's proven combinations that I think have worked for them in comparison to some stuff lately. Like, I know I mentioned maybe you bring Greg up instead of Perron, but we know that Perron has looked good with Dylan Cousins and Drake Batherson towards the end of last year. Earlier this season, he brings a bit of a different element than Ridley Gregg would. So I don't hate it, but I think that was the one area where I was a little bit surprised. But Travis Green is looking for a spark. He's looking for what's worked just to try and get this team to right the ship.
So right now, the Florida Panthers are 4 points out of a playoff spot at 47 points. They are 2 ahead of the Ottawa Senators. So they're 4 back of Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh has a game in hand, but they're only 5 points back of Washington, and the Panthers have 2 games in hand. I know that might be a little bit difficult to understand if you're not seeing it in front of you, but it's like, really, if I'm Florida, I'm worried about catching Washington, who are 5 points ahead of me, but we have 2 games in hand as the Florida Panthers. So I'd be more concerned about catching Washington, who happen to be in the first wild card spot, but they've played 3 more games than Pittsburgh. Washington has played more games than anybody in the Eastern Conference, except for like the New York Rangers and Detroit, who have also played the same amount at 45, but nobody has played more than Washington. So they are the team you're pretty much aiming for to try and catch if you're any one of, Buffalo, Toronto, Boston, Florida, the Devils, the Rangers, the Senators, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Florida Panthers, we said Ottawa's playoff chances were 17.6%. What guesses would you have where Money Puck has Florida as far as some of the percentages? Again, they are 4 points back of Pittsburgh, 5 back of Washington. They have 2 games in hand on Washington. Pittsburgh has a game in hand on them. And if Florida were to make the playoffs, they would have to pass 4 teams: Boston, Toronto, the Sabres, and then one of the teams in the wild card.
I'm still pretty high on them, so I've probably got them higher than Money Puck would. I would think maybe somewhere in the realm of where they had the Sens before the Colorado game, maybe around like a 45%.
Tanner's doing a very good job at pretending he's not looking at the stats while he says that.
I'm not.
I know. 43.2%. You are right in the proper ballpark there.
What's your odds for them if you had to give a percentage just on where you feel this team is at, the Panthers?
Yeah, it would be higher than that. It would be it would be somewhere in the 60% range of I have more belief than not that they are going to get there. If you were to ask me right now if the teams like Montreal, Detroit, and Tampa, do you really believe that they're going to stay in those positions? If you do, and you believe that Carolina, the Islanders, and the Flyers are going to stay in those positions, I don't know if I believe that the Islanders and the Flyers are going to stay in those positions. We know, for me, Carolina is.
Yeah, I think they're far and away the best team in the Metro. I would have Washington probably in one of those 2-3 spots.
Yeah, I would agree. But when I look, I guess the question, not to jumble it up completely, I look at 2 teams right now that are out of the wild card race that I firmly believe will be in a playoff spot come the end of the season. And that is the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a question whether they make it, but for me, they're in. Which means 2 of, most likely the Islanders, the Flyers, the Capitals, and the Penguins are not making it. Do we think Montreal and Detroit are going to stay in a playoff spot?
I think Tampa has a better chance of staying in a spot than those 2 teams. I still have a lot of questions around Detroit and Montreal. Montreal, I think I feel a little bit better about them. My main concern around Montreal would be similar to a Carolina of, is this just a regular season team?
Right. Yeah.
They're a bit smaller, and I think they're still a couple years away, but from contending, certainly. Detroit.
To your point. Oh, sorry. To your point, though, Tampa at 96% on Money Puck to make the playoffs, well ahead of where Montreal and Detroit are.
I think that makes sense when you look at a lot of the underlying numbers and just what that Tampa roster is. I don't see a world 30 plus 34 goal differential as well. significantly higher than the +7 that Montreal has and the -1 that Detroit has.
-1.
By the way, for anyone wondering, Ottawa has a -6.
That's pretty wild that Detroit's -1 and in that spot. But it's also wild to me that Tampa has won 8 games in a row and are barely in that third spot. The Pittsburgh Penguins have also won 6 in a row, and they're barely hanging on in that second wildcard spot. It takes a lot. And this is why people are so worried right now, is that even if Ottawa could right the ship and go, like, in their next now 14 games, the way that they're going right now, if they went 8-6, I think Senator fans would be absolutely thrilled. Right? Thrilled.
Absolutely.
They got Colorado coming up again. Like we mentioned, Vegas, Carolina twice. There's some very difficult games. But 8-6 isn't going to be putting them in a playoff spot come the Olympic break. So it's go time right now. I know you're going to talk about the Florida lineup a little bit as well.
Yeah, so Florida is pretty banged up right now. Everybody knows about Barkov, not expected back potentially before the playoffs. Matthew Tkachuk did skate today at the Canadian Tire Center, but he is not expected to make his return, so there will be no Tkachuk Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Also out is Brad Marchand, so he will not be in Florida's lineup tonight. But coming from Jamison Olive over on Twitter, he's the Panthers comms guy. Your forward lines look like Luostarinen, Lundell, Reinhart as your top line. Verhaeghe, Bennett, and AJ Greer as your second line. Third, we've got Boquist, Rodriguez, and Samaskevich. And then fourth, just called up from the AHL today, Sandis Vilmanis. Not a name I'm familiar with. I'm not sure he's making his NHL debut or not. We've got Luke Kunin and Stud Nika.
I do have to look up Sandis myself, just to make sure that we're on the. Let's see what Sandis has done.
Also pulling it up, it does look like, yeah, this is going to be his NHL debut. 31 games so far this year with the Charlotte Checkers. Charlotte. 19 points, +7. In terms of your defense, I'm not
27 points last game.
Not bad. I'm not seeing any official defensive pairs posted as of yet, so I'm going off with Daily Faceoff. They've got their line combinations thing. So Seth Jones is expected to also be out. He's day-to-day with an injury. So
wow, this like does I said, look
Panthers
like
are banged up.
If Ottawa can't beat the lineup where like there's 4 or 5 studs in the National Hockey League that aren't playing tonight.
I count 8 injuries listed here for the Florida Panthers on Daily Faceoff. So we've got Tkachuk, Barkov, I think everybody knew about. Kulikov is out. Gadjevich is out. Cole Schwint, Thomas Nosek, and then Seth Jones and Brad Marchand are both listed as day-to-day. Tkachuk would probably be day-to-day as well. He seems pretty close to coming back. So that defensive core is definitely a little weaker without Kulikov, without Jones, but it's looking like it's going to be Forsling, Ekblad as the top pair, then Nico Mikkola and Uvis Balinskis. And your bottom pair, we have got making his return to the nation's capital, hometown kid Donovan Sabrango.
Yes.
Lining up with Jeff Petrie on the third pair. And in net, Sergei Bobrovsky is getting the start.
You know, you look at this game tonight now in the big picture. I talked about, you know, how difficult the schedule is. But you'd have to think after the Florida game, if they can find a way to win this bang against the banged up Panthers team tonight, a couple days off. Yes, it's a back-to-back with a little bit of travel, but it's not like the Canucks or the New York Rangers are world beaters. And then you would go into next weekend, which I would say would be one of their the weekend that would have a lot of focal point on how they're going to do for the rest of the year, because they're in Sorry, they're home to Montreal on Saturday night, and then they're in Detroit for a 5:00 start on Sunday, which is a tough turnaround.
It's 2 back-to-backs next week. Yeah.
Yeah, there are, but you do have 2 two-day gaps as well.
Right.
They're going to be off, Sunday, Monday before they play Tuesday, Wednesday. They'll be off Thursday and Friday before they play Saturday. So you'd have to look if you could get a win tonight that, you could start to build some momentum against the Canucks and Rangers team if you were back on track and carry some momentum. And, there's no doubt the following weekend, the back-to-back with Montreal and Detroit is a very important weekend. And after that, they got Columbus and Nashville, which you would look, there's no easy games for one of the worst teams right now in the National Hockey League, and that the Ottawa Senators are right now one of the worst teams in the league. But we know how close it is. We know the standings can change very quickly, and there are some winnable games if you're at your best coming up in the next couple of weeks. Because when you get to January 24th, it's like, yeah, well, they're home games, but we're home to Carolina and Vegas back to back. And then we have the Avalanche coming in. How's those 3 games for you? You better be playing a whole lot better than you are right now. That's for sure. Oh, man. Never a dull moment, Tanner. Never a dull moment. So what we can tell people, you're going to be at the game. Look forward to row 2 and what the perspective is.
I'm stoked. I can't wait. I'm not stoked about that drive home. Anyone going out to the rink tonight, be careful.
Yeah, make sure that you are careful and not rushing to get home. And it looks like the snow is going to start, 4 o'clock last time I looked, but that might have changed. I would say be watching
crazy.
out. What's that?
It's pretty crazy that it's like a lot of Saturday games, and it feels like every single one there's a major snowstorm in Ottawa. Can't be great for the team and the ticket sales.
Right, because if anybody thinking, hey, I'm not really doing anything Saturday night, I could be convinced to go to the game. Yeah, major snowstorm. Yeah, I'm good.
Major snowstorm and underperforming team is not a great combination. But I'll report back on what the attendance is looking like. I know it's a bobblehead game, and maybe some people had this circled early in the season for a potential Kachuk Bowl that we're not going to get.
One of the things I would say to be looking out for when you're that close tonight would be the body language of the team in certain moments that you can really tell from that point of view would be when a goal goes in. Let's say the Florida Panthers score. Let's say it's not a great goal. We've seen some bad goals lately. Are they unaffected by that? What is their body language after, maybe playing well for the first 10 minutes and then giving up a goal? How do they respond? Because mentally, they have to be very tough tonight. They have to find a way. So we'll see if they can do that. I will be jumping on right after the game for those that might be home in the snowstorm. Tanner, just get home as safely as possible. And if there's time, jump on. But I'm going to be here for people to make sure that we're sort of working out some kinks and seeing how long I can talk. Need some people in the chat. So are you going to the game with Ethan?
I am.
It's going to be tough for Ethan to jump in on the chat. The Bens,
especially with he's going back to Orleans after.
Yeah. So the Bens, the Chris's, the Erics of the world. We're going to have to.
Gibbon.
Yeah. Z Gibbon. He should be home from like a weird Trenton Golden Hawks 5:15 start. Make sure that the Zamboni's back on by 10-7. That weird thing the Trenton Golden Hawks do. We'll see.
Let's see. He wanders himself over to CAA Arena.
I'll be on a little bit later. as we sit here right now, there's already an afternoon game. It's 1-1, the Rangers and the Boston Bruins. 7 minutes in, I looked at some of the other games that scoreboard watching, and sometimes it feels like Detroit and Montreal are playing each other all the time, but they're playing each other again tonight in Montreal, and that has to be a game that, you know, a lot of the Eastern Conference is looking in on, going, just please not another 3-point game. When you look at games like that, you know, Tampa Philly will be one of those games. When you get those two Eastern Conference opponents playing each other and they're ahead of you in the standings, I mean, you're just hoping that those games do not go for 3 points. So those are a couple of the games tonight that I'm sure people will have their eyes on. All right, Tanner, enjoy yourself and have fun at the game. And hopefully we're talking about a little bit of a rebound here tonight for the Ottawa Senators.
Looking forward to it. Can't wait. Like you said, yeah, we'll definitely be watching the out of town scoreboard a little bit tonight, cheering on the likes of the Calgary Flames, the Anaheim Ducks, whatnot. But above all else, let's hope for a Sens win and see them right the ship at the very least.
Because that's what fans do, right? You want every possible thing to go your way to get back in it. And that's what fans should be doing. You should be scoreboard watching. But the main thing that needs to happen tonight is the Ottawa Senators as a team need to respond and look like a team. And if they're able to do that, then that would be a step forward from my account. All right. So for Tanner Ryle, I'm Lever's Edge. Thanks for listening. And we will be back on the OSN post-game show tonight directly. Minutes, seconds after that game ends, I will be on. I'm looking forward to that as well. And of course, you got some NFL playoff games going today, starting at 4:30. It looks like that snowstorm is not just limited to here. Looks like there'll be a lot of snow in that Chicago Green Bay game tonight, which should make for some very interesting football and television as well. So until we talk to you after the game, signing off here from OSN. So am I hitting end stream?